so meeting is in progress. It's now 7 p.m. and people are still trickling in, but I have an introduction. So before we begin, we'll get most of the folks in. So hi, everyone. Welcome to the BCA Photo Group special presentation tonight in honor of Veterans Day. For the next few minutes, if you could please, I would really appreciate this, put yourselves on video so we can see you. And that would be great. So I will wait while you do that.
I'm going to go off video
Okay.
because I just got home from playing tennis and my dinner will be appearing. Nobody needs to see.
Oh, okay. Well, 3 minutes, Charlie, just 3 minutes.
Oh, yeah, no, I'm staying here for now. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Thank you. The board doesn't have a lot of announcements today, but today being Veterans Day, we wanted to call out and send a very heartfelt thank you to those of our members who've served in our military. So if you were here tonight, if you could raise your hand when I call your name, that would be great. From the United States Air Force, we have Richard Ferris, Alan Mertz, and Richard Cruzmark. From the United States Coast Guard, we have Tony Artardo. And from the United States Navy, we have Stephen Cook. So is there anyone here that I haven't mentioned? I don't see anybody raising their hand. So please, let's extend our appreciation to all of our former service members with a round of applause. So thank you to all of you for answering the call. Much appreciated. So as we begin tonight's presentation, we'd love to see your faces, but please remember to mute your microphones unless you have a question or an observation you'd like to share with our speakers, and we'll talk more about that as we get into the presentation. So the Florida Museum of Photographic Arts currently has an exhibition entitled A Soldier's Lens, and it's now on view in its Tampa gallery, and the staff has graciously agreed to tell us more about it. And so without further ado, I'd like to introduce our speakers. A native of Newton, Massachusetts, Alexis Molnar is in his 21st year as Tampa Bay editor-in-chief of Tampa Bay Business Journal, the longest tenured newsroom leader in the newspaper's history. He earned a master's degree in print journalism from the University of Miami and a BA in photography and communications from Hampshire College here in Western Massachusetts. His roots are in public radio, where his credits include NPR, NPR's All Things Considered, Weekend Edition, Crossroads, and Living on Earth. He was an adjunct professor at Florida International University in Miami, where he taught the business and ethics of journalism and broadcast writing and reporting. And Alexis won the prestigious Livingston Award for Young Journalists for his public radio series on the role of radio in Vietnam during that war. Alexis' journalism credits include the Miami Herald, Florida Trend, the New York Times, the Miami Daily Business Review, Quill, and the Sports Business Journal. He has twice received the National ACBJ Eagle Award, his company's highest honor for excellence in news reporting. So thank you so much, Alexis.
Thank you.
Robin Odell, welcome, Robin. Robin currently serves as the executive curator for the Florida Museum of Photographic Arts. Robin has a master's degree in photographic preservation and collections management and over 25 years of experience curating exhibitions and working with photographic collections. She's also a contributing writer for the Artisan magazine and Creative Pinellas Arts Coast magazine. Her responsibilities at the museum include curating exhibitions, which she does wonderfully, and I've seen this exhibit, programming, oversight of collections, and building and maintaining relationships with members, staffs, donors, and the community. So with that, take it away, Alexis and Robin.
Thank you, Deb. We'll share our screen in a minute, but just I think, Deb, you were interested in knowing what we'll talk briefly because we have a lot of images to go through, so I won't. But you want to know about the genesis of this project, correct?
Yes.
So the Soldier's Lens project came as a result. My wife is a graphic designer and has a client named Tom Arthur, who is a retired CEO here in Tampa. Tom found himself in 1968 in Saigon in Vietnam as an advisor, U.S. advisor. This is in June of '68, mostly advising South Vietnamese troops. And he brought along his Brownie camera, kept it in his breast pocket with the vague thought that it might stop a bullet. Thankfully, he survived, but saw two medals for valor and gallantry, bronze and silver stars. But he shot a lot of photographs. My wife and I were thinking, is there enough images from his photographs with his sort of grainy Brownie, systematic to do an exhibition? Not quite. But Tom has some pretty compelling images and likes photography. We broadened the idea on a walk one night, my wife and I, to this idea that if you're a simple concept, if you're a veteran or an active duty service member or a family member of such, hey, send FMOPA your photographs. And I had heart surgery this summer, and so I was laid up for a little while. Happy to be with you tonight. But in the course of convalescing, I started to get the word out, and we talked to photo clubs and arts and medicine programs and veterans organizations. And the idea quickly had a life of its own. It went around the world. I think, Deborah, you've heard about it from a photo club in London, I believe, or something, I think it was, or some newsletter in London, I think, right?
Yes, I did. Something called the, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
the open call list.
Yep.
A gentleman in London.
Yeah, I get that email.
Yes, yeah, Aidan Avery.
We didn't. And the fact is that at the end of the submission process, we ended up with 530 plus submissions from around the world. We were just sort of aghast. I don't know, you have some thoughts about that process too, right? It was really, I went to Robin and said, hey, we have this idea. What do you think? Because she'd never done anything like it either.
Yeah,
Right.
it was, yeah, in my 25 years of curating. Because, it's like we do open calls, we have an international photo competition, we do member shows, but this was not putting out a call to photographers necessarily, right? It was putting out a call to anybody who had served or their family. And so it was very much, well, I guess we'll see what we're going to get, right?
Yeah, and the very basic premise was, to your earlier point, Charlie, I think, made, this is not a competition. We weren't judging the best of this group. This is a building an archive of understanding, I've said recently somehow, to really help people understand what life in service is like. This is a community here in Tampa that has MacDill Air Force Base and has a long history and connection with defense sectors. And we weren't exactly sure what we were going to get, but as you'll see in the show, the images that I'm going to show you, we are going to show you, it's pretty compelling. So why don't I go ahead and share, unless there's any questions at the outset, why don't I go ahead and share the screen, which is always, where is it? Okay. Yeah, always fun. That's like the moment of great truth. And I will take away the notes so we all see it and start.
Grab a drink.
Yes, go grab a drink.
We were in just.
Yes, we just came from this. Now you guys, are you seeing the notes slide or not?
No,
Okay,
we're
great.
seeing the regular.
Awesome. So Robin just went to get some water. And I think generally you'll be able to see if you have your images, your faces along the right-hand side. So I just, what I'm going to do is I chose, we had, again, 530, we have 75 images on the gallery wall. And we did a collage that my wife did 6 feet by 5 feet. You'll see later in this deck. And then did cases of original photos. So there's about 200 photographs in a rather small gallery. I chose 58 to share with you tonight as co-curators picks. So I made some notes about those, what we know about them, and we'll try to, if you have something you want to ask about before I move to the next slide, unmute and holler, but we can always go back if we want, okay? So it's images like this when I saw that just was very exciting. This is John H. Black, and from World War II in the Aleutian Islands, that was submitted by his son, John Black Jr. And his rank was chief machinist mate, and he was born in New Brockton, Alabama in 1919 and moved to Florida in 1926, where he worked as a machinist for the railroad. He served from 1942 to 1945. One of the things you'll notice as we go through this is that it's not chronological. And we are thrilled about that because there are themes that emerge because you have a certain amount of people that were in the military that we just left the gallery with a woman who is currently serves in the public affairs and her job is to photograph. And then we ended up with archival images like this from World War II. This is Technical Sergeant Dorothy M. Carney of the 334 1st Signal Service Battalion. taking a break in a local cafe, and she served in the Women's Army Corps in a communications role. It's especially nice to see women represented, and we felt like they were part of this, and we love this image. We had a chance to. There's a expressway authority in town that or before the show opened chose 6 of our images to put on these big panels, and this one of Dorothy submitted by, I'm not sure where the family connection is, but is part of that group. I won't be able to see you or hear you, so don't be shy about jumping out if you have a question or want me to stop.
Raise your hand.
Yeah, or raise your hand. I think I'll see it, but I'm seeing 4 of you on the side of the screen. But everybody can see it, okay? You're mute.
Yeah, well, mute.
Okay.
Okay, Robert, I am not seeing oh, hold on one second. Okay, if anyone has a question and they want to put it in the chat, I can relay it.
Yeah, that sounds great. Deborah, you stop and just, that's a great way to go. I forgot that do it in Zoom.
Right.
Because
there's that little thing where you can,
that you
when
can
I
raise
said
your
raise
hand.
your hand.
Yeah, you can
it's a
actually,
button.
you can button that you can raise your hand. So Deborah, if you stop us, you'll be our conduit, stop us.
Okay.
One of, again, became an iconic image in this show, and there is Tom Arthur, the person I mentioned, who's my wife's client. He again serves as an advisor. This is right after the Viet Cong were in this pagoda, and they called in an attack on them, and Tom gave his camera to his nearby soldier and had him shoot this. And again, just super compelling moments that we wouldn't have seen otherwise. Again, an image that by Tom Arthur, who is now in his early 80s and retired, grew up in Eastern North Carolina, poor, and did poorly in high school, but was determined to get into UNC Chapel Hill, and got there, and then decided to be an officer. Went and learned Vietnamese language at Fort Bliss, and was in Vietnam by June of 1968, which was after the Tet Offensive, when things really got moved into the inner cities, and it was both a time of success for the U.S. forces, but also some big losses on both sides. Changed the whole nature of the war. But here's a picture that Tom shot of his radio man and his ARVN counterparts in the field. It's funny because he said when we were having him do interviews for this show, he said, "I'm being listed as a photographer." I said, "Tom, you're a photographer." He shoots a lot. He likes to do it, and he shot these. This is one of Tom's pictures as well. This is in a South Vietnamese soldiers, which is what he was. He was 1 or 2 American advisors as part of a battalion or a group of often 300 that should have been 600. They were dealing with such losses that they were never fully staffed. But he was also won Silver Star and Bronze Star for valor. Was in a lot of firefights and difficult situations, and lucky enough survived the war with his Brownie in his front pocket. This is a picture, as I said, we're jumping around in terms of different times. This is a picture by Christopher Tam, who was shooting firefighters assigned to the 99th Civil Engineer Squadron, hosing down a simulated burn victim at the Nellis Air Force Base in Nevada. It's such a compelling picture.
It really is.
We had a curation committee of Robin and myself and Jody Katzeff, our exhibitions manager, and my wife Joni. We're all co-curators in this project, and spent a lot of time looking at images the way you are tonight on Zoom, trying to figure out among all the images what goes well on the wall. Any thoughts about that process? It just was quite a process.
It was a process. The sad thing is that, we didn't have a big enough space to put all 500 on the wall. So that was the difficulty of having to separate, not to say no or to judge, but try to decide what would be best served getting framed and putting on the wall, and what Joni made us an amazing collage so that, we were trying to figure out all the ways that we could fit as many photos in the gallery as we absolutely could. And then we also have some cases where people loaned us their actual vintage snapshots from some of them are from the Vietnam,
some of World War I,
from World War I, and all the way back.
It's crazy. The cases, we'll show you what the gallery looks like at the end of the deck. We had a big opening on Thursday, so I included some of those.
But I do also the rest of them went into a digital exhibition, which anybody can access on our website. So if you're interested in seeing more images, there's 400 plus images on the website in that digital exhibition.
Yeah, it's the design again is to build an archive, and we're going to do it again next year. And so one of the benefits of telling you all about it is like Deborah, you are now officially evangelists for our project. You may know people, we all know people, it turns out, or many of us do, who have other family members who served or otherwise. This is a picture shot by Monique Stober in 2024 during a flyover down here at MacDill Air Force Base. And it's just, I just love this one. It's just, I mean, I don't know. It's just captures what it must feel like to be.
It makes me dizzy looking at
Yes, for those of you with height concerns, it's a bit of a concern. This one didn't make the walls. It's a fan favorite of mine. Robin wasn't necessarily her favorite because it seemed sort of promotional. I'm my work, and you can find my images on my name, Alexis Milner at Instagram. I like things that are funny, and to me, this had sort of humor attached to it. May have been promotional, but this is part of our digital display, and it's done by William Tanner, who actually flew here for the opening from Hawaii. His sister lives in Lakeland nearby, and he was here. He came to the show, which was kind of amazing. But this was a British Coldstream Guard display their traditional uniform and javelin firing system, and shot by again Sergeant First Class William Tanner Sr., serving now in the U.S. Army and serving in the 94th Army Air Missile Defense Command. And he sent us this. This is an example of some of the images that we got from all kinds of people. This is also a favorite of my wife's, Joni. It's Second Lieutenant, U.S. Air Force Second Lieutenant Jacqueline Gonzalez Brown of the 6th Maintenance Squadron Fabrication Flight Commander, and she's posing in front of a KC-135 Stratotanker aircraft. She was shot by Helen Lee, who was just with us in a gallery walk here. Helen enlisted at age 29 after spending 8 years in the Air Force as a flight attendant for American Airlines, and then went into the military, and now works for public affairs. Found photography at a late age. Had an interesting perspective on things. I see a hand up, Philip. You had a question,
which is good. I'm gonna
you
go.
Okay, great.
There were still people in the
Yes,
gallery.
please. Okay, great.
Yeah, so I was wondering, were there any pictures from non-military people who, so I spent 3 years as a kid in the Marshall Islands, which is a military base, and my dad was not in the military, but worked for at the time.
Yeah, it's an interesting question. The eligibility, we went pretty broad. It was, veterans, active duty service members, or your families. So that was sort of the connection. We had a couple people we had a woman who shot lots of veterans in therapy, in swimming pools, in therapy for our therapy. I don't know. I think it's a pretty loose connection. I think you'll see there's people who are not in the U.S. military. There are some UN peacekeepers you'll see coming up. I don't know. I think it's sort of a little bit of a reach, but again, we're going to do it next year, and I think we're really open. The goal is to be inclusive. We're not.
All right, maybe I'll see if I try to dig out my old pictures from Quad.
You may have setting. I don't know. We'll see. We're glad that if it pushes you to do that, that's awesome. These are from my family. This is from my stepmother, Jan Roby. Her stepfather, during World War II, was a guy named John Osborne, and he served in the intelligence branch of the Air Corps in India and China. He rose from private to major, and he was a native of the Texas Panhandle and a University of Texas Law School graduate. And he worked as a judge advocate, so he flew as a spotter over the Himalayas and with the famed Flying Tigers. And I just love this picture. It's one of my favorites of all. And my mom shared this.
There was a question in the chat, by the way.
Oh, okay. Deb, you want to tell us, Billy, that one?
1 second. Okay. This is from Paul Newcomb. The last photo of the woman by the plane with the ball. Did she have an Olympic medal on her neck?
Oh, that's a good. I'm glad you mentioned that. Let's go back to that real quick. I think that'll do it. Will that do it?
Yeah.
Okay. She did. She won. Thanks for noticing. She didn't. It's not an Olympic medal. She.
It's the Air Force volleyball team. They won.
Gold.
A championship.
Right, the Armed Forces volleyball championship, and she won a gold medal. So that's Helen Wise picture, and Helen talked.
I just want to say if for some reason I don't get your question up immediately, it's because I'm so engrossed in what Alexis and and Robin are saying that I'm not looking. So I will be better at that.
Anyways, this is the work in progress, and I'm thrilled to have your interest in your question. But they're so compelling. And this one I just love, especially. John Osborne shot a lot of photographs. I've got a book at home that has more. And here's another one of he and his group in Egypt. At and John Osborne had color, but was colorblind, and so that made him a particular asset in identifying camouflage. And my stepmother, Jan, who's now just turned 90 this year and lives in Worthington, Massachusetts, in the Hilltowns, and we love going there. Talks about her mother, I think, was married 4 times, and John unfortunately died early, but pretty compelling. This is a picture of Jim Furman Sr. Jim Furman's son is a Tampa business leader who had an auto dealership and owns a lot of land in town, and also has been a big supporter of this museum. And I snuck this into the digital display, and it's not really in the walls or the cases, but his dad was a boxer, and I don't know, there's something, it's kind of grainy, but there's something about this image that I particularly love. I don't know, the scruffy beard, the look, and the gloves. And this is what this project is supposed to do, is share things that we didn't expect. And that's certainly one of them. And moving to a completely different part of the world, we now move to South Sudan, and I love these. These are just incredible. And one of the things about this is from a guy named Nectarios Markogiannis, Neris, I think is his, Neris Markogiannis, who has spent 18 years embedded with the UN peacekeepers in various missions, including Kosovo, Darfur, Haiti, and the Central African Republic. And this is an Ethiopian armored personnel carrier trying to cross an obstacle on the way to Juba to Ye, from Juba to Ye, a 180-kilometer distance that takes approximately 36 hours to complete due to the terrible condition of the road. And here you see it. And Markogiannis was born in Greece and is currently working for the UN mission in South Sudan, and has worked for several United Nations peacekeeping operations, as we said earlier. I mean, just the quality of this one. I mean, these are on the wall, this one and another one, which I'm about to show you. I don't know. They're just so compelling the way they're lit. And how we reached Neris, I don't know, but I'm thrilled. Another one of our favorites, my favorites, amazing work.
Yeah, by the same artist.
By the same artist, yeah. And I'm a big fan of dissolves and fades. So, this is part of the co-curator's picks, is the juxtaposition of things, which is by design. We are no chronological order for us, Robin, right? I'm sort of teasing, but this is another woman who is with us just now in our gallery walk, Stephanie Beatty, who is from Newport Richey, Florida, but not far from us here. And this is her daughter, Scout, she's now 19 on the tarmac. She's a military spouse and is a brilliant photographer. You can find her on Instagram, Stephanie Beatty, and told us some really heart-wrenching stories about being on hand to photograph a lot of families who were about to be deployed, and that there was this massive urgency to shoot family portraits before they left. When I asked her that question, she
teared up.
She teared up, yeah. And so anyway, I love her work. Here's another example. Just incredible emotional connections, and she's got a beautiful eye and a very talented digital storyteller as well. Stephanie Beatty is her name. She's here. Another incredible image by Bill Aquino. And he said that, one of the quotes from Bill, this is a young girl at Camp Commando Rish Corps in Afghanistan in 2002 or 2003. His comment to us was, "My interpreter noticed and encouraged me to photograph this young Afghan girl. The girl's mother gave me permission to take one photograph." This young girl's eyes are mesmerizing. Yes, they are, Bill. She has a look of innocence. I think it represents the future of Afghanistan. And Bill is a retired Army colonel. He made this photo during his 3rd deployment to Afghanistan as an advisor to the Afghan National Army Special Operations Command, ANASOC. Yeah, it's just amazing. I'm especially enjoying this experience, you all, because it's the process of getting this information in, and that I know, and we talked about it just now, that the stories behind these images are what really makes this project so rich and compelling for us. I don't know that I anticipated. I mean, I knew it would be the case. Like, people are going to send stuff, and first we were like, "Oh my God, they're sending us things," and second, it was like, "Wow, the stories behind this are just incredible." Here's another image of a fitness contest during Helton Week. The event honors First Lieutenant Joseph D. Helton, a security forces officer killed in Iraq in 2009, and it's a fitness challenge held in his honor. And this is Air Force Senior Airman Sterling Sutton. Oh, this is shot by Air Force Senior Airman Sterling Sutton, and he's a public affairs journeyman assigned to the 6th Air Refueling Wing here in Tampa at MacDill Air Force Base. Incredible. Because it is about people. I'm sorry that the Zoom things may lose some of the frame here, but there are two images by this, or four images on all together online, and this is one of the things that we love about the digital gallery. You can go see, there were so many things that were so compelling that still didn't make it, but this is a guy named Ken Scarr of 1st Cavalry Division Deputy Command General, Brigadier General Gary Valesky on the right, and members of his personal security detail run to their Blackhawk helicopter. And Valesky and his team were conducting a battlefield circulation to several international security assistance force positions in south of Kabul in the Day-Yak Metacon districts. So Ken joined the U.S. Army in 2009 at age 40. We mentioned Helen Lai with the volleyball at age 29. It's amazing that people decide to go into the service, or at least in Ken's case, and created more than 2,500 products telling the Army's story to the American public. I'm a working journalist, so content is products. I don't know.
It's funny because labels, like Jody and I like debated about that word.
Oh, yeah.
We thought, well, that's maybe a little misleading or confusing, and then we decided it was his word.
That's his word.
That's his word.
I'm glad you kept it, because while I, think of it differently, that's what they do and we talked about this briefly when Helen was in this gallery walk, because the military is not looking to be a news organization. They are telling a story. And Ken now serves, by the way, at Clemson University or writes and works there. Another similar kind of image, that's why they're together, Captain Obvious said. Here, U.S. Marines shield their faces from dust kicked up from a CH-53E Super Stallion as it lands during integrated training exercise 2-15 at the Marine Corps Air Ground Combat Center, 29 Palms. And this is by Matthew Smith, who retired from the U.S. Air Force Reserves after 20 years in service and is currently working as a Veteran Services Officer in Maury County, Tennessee. Another example of the reach of this project that is blowing our minds. And one of the things that's sort of funny as I read these is that there's a lot of military jargon. There's one in particular that I'm going to read you that I found especially so. One of my favorites of the whole show, Ken Scarr again, who is now currently senior writer and photographer at Clemson University. The story behind this is really compelling. U.S. Army Scouts from Headquarters and Headquarters Company 3rd Battalion, 509th Infantry Regiment, Task Force Spartan, pile into a small room to rest for a few hours after walking through the night in -4-degree temperatures from Forward Operating Base Gardez in the city of Gardez, February 16th, 2020. The room, which is heated by a small wood-burning stove, was provided to them by local Afghan uniformed police at their police headquarters building. I don't know, hot chocolate, boots, camaraderie, connection, exhaustion. That's all here in this photograph. These are all my favorites, so I'll stop saying that. But Matthew Smith shot this as a flyover in Helmand Province. And the initial thing he sent us was like getting ready to jump out of an airplane. But then he talked a little bit about this is the 438th Air Expeditionary Wing. A member of that wing, sits on the back of the ramp of an Afghan Air Force C-27 Spartan as it flies over Afghanistan. And he retired from the Air Force Reserves after 20 years of service and is currently working. Also, we already talked about Matthew, he's a Veteran Service Officer. I just love that in the upper left-hand corner, you see the semblance of a base or some, I don't know, it's just, you get the feeling, besides being dizzy, of just incredible life in service and what it's like to have your legs dangling out of a plane. This is Robert Meyer, who the Northern Lights in Alaska, 2024. We love this one. This was on our panels in the street for Frames on Franklin. And this is observers with the 2-3077 Parachute Field Artillery Regiment overlook the impact area of the Donnelly Training Area in central Alaska during mortar certifications in mid-October 2024. The lightweight laser designator and rangefinder, its LLDR, is used to, which is common now, is used to ensure rounds impact safely. So this is training, but had the benefits of a light show, which is, this one's just, spectacular. And he was currently on bases in Alaska, including Joint Base Elmdorf, Richardson. Another just, I don't know, super compelling images by Christopher Muncie. It's a departure at Air Force Base, North Carolina. He said that, let's see, this is a C-17 Globemaster III aircraft from the 315th Airlift Wing, Joint Base Charleston, waiting on a runway for soldiers from the 82nd Airborne and Royal Army soldiers from the 2nd Battalion Parachute Regiment to depart for Defender Europe 21. You have to look that up. I haven't had a chance to do that yet. Christopher Muncie is a technical sergeant and is a New York City-based photojournalist, and he's also a photographer with the 4th Combat Camera Squadron, U.S. Army Air Force Reserves, and he attended the Defense Information School at Columbia University, which I didn't know had a Defense Information School. There are others, and many back through history, but has a BA in Human Rights and is now pursuing a master's degree at Columbia School of Journalism, which is a 1-year master's program in journalism and a very prestigious one. I love that Christopher found out about this.
Yeah, it's good, it's that good example of, we didn't know what we were going to get, and we got photographs, all across the spectrum, but so many really amazing, even if they're not professional photographers, they could be professional photographers, just remarkable images. So.
Yeah, stunning. And some we knew, were destined to go on the wall, and that's one of them. This is one that's in our digital display, and actually this is the very first photograph submitted. I'm a business journalist by day. I may not have mentioned this, but or never did, but I'm the editor of the chief of the Tampa Bay Business Journal, which has a kindred newspaper in Boston, the Boston Business Journal. Charlie Riganti, I met in the course of just networking and knew him in the business community. And this is him sitting on a harpoon in, where was he? It's Keflavik, Iceland, during a 6-month deployment in Patrol Squadron 56. This is on a submarine. They were involved with keeping submarine hunter aircrafts flying, and it was super freezing there. But he told me that this is him sitting on a harpoon, which later he got in trouble for.
No doubt.
Yeah, sitting on a harpoon, not advised by the U.S. Navy. This section that I think I pulled together because it's people, and this is the one I was telling you about that has an incredible amount of jargon. I'm going to read it because I think it's slightly funny, but it's compelling. So this is Robert Meyer again, who shot the Northern Lights picture, and he said that it's from the Pacific Pathways mission we did in Indonesia, where me and my NCO were observing rounds for CALFEX that involved the U.S., the Indonesians, TNI, with the Japanese and the Australians. We had just jumped with the TNI in the previous week, but for the CALFEX, we got put on admin OP to watch artillery, HIMARS, and CAS. My NCO also introduced them to ZYNs. Okay? Now, everybody got that? Repeat after me. Listen, I mean, you gotta commend the military for keeping it all organized, and again, on Veterans Day, we salute them in more ways than one. Another one of our favorites from a woman named, this is Vanessa Hoyos, and I don't have her name on my notes, but Vanessa Hoyos, Oregon, I forget her name, but she'll come up.
Names, yeah.
She has 3 names. She's on the left. Yeah, I think so. She said that we divided only our platoon was in Iraq with another company. We celebrated each other's birthdays and holidays for a year, and of course we did the job. We supplied important parts for radars and missile equipment. They became my family, and I miss them every day. This is again one of our street art panels, and we love it. And again, having women in the military. This is my family. This is my wife's father, Bill Brown, who's got the W.E. Brown, Chief Master Sergeant, who served 23 years, 6 months and 17 days, from 1955 to 1978 as a flight line instruments mechanic and later as a flight training device instructor. And Bill, I never met, came back fairly troubled, lived not far from us, but we never got a chance to see him for various reasons. And then eventually, died alone, which is tough for a lot of veterans. But Bill's in the middle playing cards with his friends. We just love this one. Again, life behind the scenes and off time was a part of this project.
Look like movie stars.
They do look like movie stars. They have that feel. Here's Bill early on, and one of our favorites, smoking in front of the no smoking sign. I think is poignant and reflects him. He was kind of a badass, to say the least, aren't they all? And so one of our family archives, and there's another one in here as well. We printed a lot of images that were sent to us. We did get 7 sponsors for this exhibition, which is a high in the history of our museum, which helped us pay and offset some costs. Although, like many cultural institutions, we're trying to keep the place alive. But thanks to people like Robin and our staff and exhibitions like this, we're doing it. This is a Honduran soldier in Tegucigalpa, Honduras, in 2024 by Aaron Drummer. This Honduran soldier waits in line for live fire training on the M60 machine gun. Aaron took this photo while living and working as an advisor in Honduras, where he documented the Honduras soldiers and worked with Sergeant First Class, and worked with them. And so, anyway, he spent 8 months in this role, and he sent us this image. It was a little bigger than the rest, right? It's very large. The print is large, and it's one of the largest in the show. And but I'm so glad
we gave people the opportunity, right? I mean, because normally if we're doing an exhibition and it's featured with professional photographers, they print and frame them and send them themselves. They supply that. But of course, with this exhibition, for the majority of them that went on the wall, we printed and framed, but gave anybody the opportunity to supply them if we wanted to. And I'm not sure if we didn't specify or he didn't read what we wrote, but it's
large and it's enormous. Yeah.
Like the other ones are framed 16 by 20. And I was just like, oh my goodness gracious.
Yeah, what are we gonna do?
But it really works.
It really works.
Like it really, it's nice. It breaks up some of the.
It's such a high resolution print.
It's printed.
It's a beautiful print in so many ways. My co-curator colleagues will laugh, but I've told them maybe 35 or 40 or 60 times how much I love group photographs. I have a collection of them at home. This one especially hits home because the woman in the upper right, not all the way right, but just to her right, is Marilyn Brown, my wife's mom. And this is her pictured at Ramey Air Force Base in a luau party in circa 1962. And the wives and military spouses who were not allowed to start businesses or a lot of rules around that, had to deal with their own culture of connection. And this one we just love. Again, women, Vanessa, who you met earlier, and with the Santa, which we like, again, particularly. The USO visited various companies distributing candy and taking pictures with Army Santa. This was during COVID time, shown with masks. So Sergeant Vanessa Hoyos served in the military for 5 years before being medically retired. Her job was in logistics, and she had 1 deployment to Kuwait and Iraq. I love this one. This is not the greatest quality, but my wife did a little bit of just getting it ready for prime time. It's a picture by from Lonnie Vona, B Company, 1st Battalion, 7th Infantry at Aschaffenburg, Germany, flag football team, city champs, 1970. I love that one. Yeah, it's just, I don't know. I love group shots, but just because we get so many different faces. And so much different contrast. For example, this by Philip Casey, who's right there in the middle, who we saw come into the gallery last week and see this picture. And this is a long-range reconnaissance platoon combat called the Hatchet Platoon. And I asked him, are these mostly mercenaries? And he said a lot of them were, but they did a lot of work with the Montagnard tribal forces in Vietnam. And what a group. I mean, you can just imagine what they went through and saw. Again, continuing with the group photos for a minute, this is infantry squad graduation of infantry school by a man who's in the second row at the end. His name is Michael Angelo Hall, not Michelangelo, but Michael Angelo Hall, who served as a Vietnam infantryman. He trained here at Fort Silk, Oklahoma, and fought in one of the last battles of Vietnam, serving at Firebase Mod Hill 350 as part of the 196th Light Infantry Brigade and the 3rd and 82nd Field Artillery. And Michael's father, T.C. Hall, was served in the Navy in 1937. And we have pictures of him in the case. He adopted Michael and his sister, which we don't have in this block, but Michael suffered a friendly fire incident that involved deaths of fellow men and has suffered through that through much of his life. But you'll see a picture of him at the end. But he contacted us. I went down to the American Legion, and he handed me this crumbling group of photographs of his dad's and then some of his own, and we got the original files. But he said this show has been therapeutic and more than the VA was for. I mean, VA does a lot of good things, but for him, this show has been very therapeutic. This is an incredible image that I'm just honored to have in the show. It comes from my stepmother, Mireille. Her dad, Joachim Chaplin, was a fighter in the French underground, the FFI during World War II. And the Germans, and I've been there, occupied Lorient, which is in Brittany, which is a seaport with a deep harbor, and they built a U-boat base, which the Allies just bombed the crap out of, and especially the end of the war. But they were unable to breach the submarine base, which had roofs, and the building is still standing because they were just there this summer. 8 meters thick, reinforced concrete. Those are still there, those bunkers. I've seen them. And it was the last outpost post of the German army to surrender in May of 1945. And this is a photograph that he took on the day that they did surrender with his commandant of his regiment addressing Nazi officers before they were deported. And Commandant Mueller of the 3rd Battalion of the 118th Infantry Regiment is on the right. The Germans are grouped together on the left. And behind them in the barracks of the regiment is Cassin Frabold. Cassin Frabold is my attempt at a French accent. And there's a Gestapo figure, it may be hard to make out, who appears in the leather coat to the left. And what a moment to capture. This is buried in an attic in Brittany for years. And here we're share it with all of you. This is from a woman. This is submitted by a woman named Catherine McCoy. She dubbed it "Killing Time in Korea," showing soldiers using their spare time in South Korea sometime around 1954. The camera uses her dad's, and the man facing the camera in the white T-shirt is her dad, Captain Jesse A. Fields in the U.S. Army. And that she said photos like this were taken to send back home to show wife and children what life was like over there. And wow, wasn't it fun? I'm sure there are moments of this and camaraderie, but wow, for some that had to deal with, surviving, a lot of folks in Vietnam talked about it being hours of boredom punctuated by moments of sheer terror. And I'm sure that was part of it. This one speaks to me too. This is the Anthony family getting on a helicopter in Fort Rucker, Alabama, 1960. John Anthony's senior is pictured in uniform along with his wife and daughter, John Anthony Jr., seated inside the helicopter. The young man is now a business person here in Tampa and had seen about our show and had reached out to me and had these pictures. And there's other ones. His dad was in the Signal Corps. And there's some great images. If you search John Anthony on the website, you'll see some other ones that I just love of him in Fort Rucker, Alabama. But this is, to me, demonstrating family departures and leaves. Oh, we know that. Who took that one? Listen, your images and the power are so powerful, and the work you're doing is, I'm sure, so important and healing to, the 200 people that you've been able to engage. So bravo to you. And I know you have a show coming up, correct? Okay, good. This one we love. I know some of you have seen this work, but a veteran with a service dog, but this is my particular favorite of the bunch. But the one, we have several with some of the equine therapy that you do there in the gallery. This is a shot by a woman named Jennifer Brady. It's All-American Week at Fort Bragg in North Carolina in 2012. It's taken during All-American Week. The sergeant first class in the foreground was still serving after losing 2 of his limbs in the Iraq War. And Jennifer Brady was a U.S. Army sergeant at the time she took this picture. One of the early submissions that we were like, wow, this is just, we're onto something here. Another one, again, people are at the center of this. People don't make, they make the military or service. No, I had something. People make it, not organizations. This is again by Matthew Troyer, a U.S. Marine Lance Corporal Kofi Agyeman rides in an MTVR troop transport vehicle while attached to 3rd Recon Battalion Bravo Company during Operation Brave Traveler. U.S. Marine Corps Staff Sergeant Troyer was a combat photographer from 2008 to 2016 He's now an artist and an educator with a BFA in photography and imaging from Ringling College of Art and Design here in Sarasota nearby, and has a MFA from UNC Chapel Hill. We'll have to get him up here at some point. The locals especially. Brilliant image, and he's got a couple others that are just fantastic. This is one in the gallery, and another group of super compelling images by Ryan Parker, shot in it's bunker number 1. It's an ammo plant in Chattanooga, Tennessee. And he sent us a long piece, which I'll spare you, but the shorter version is a volunteer Army ammunition plant bunker is what this is. Presently, the site is the Enterprise South Nature Park. And so Ryan is a lens-based artist and documentarian based in Bozeman, Montana. He was raised on a military installation across the U.S. and Japan until the age of 13. His father, Mark Parker, served as a Marine for 22 years. I'll just read you one paragraph. He said, growing up in the base, his brother and he would play outside, but what differs and from our friends who we'd meet later in life were signs marking where tanks would cross the road or signs marking where unexploded munitions would be found in the swamp. These are places we grew up, were our home. They are our bones and allow us to recall our fondest childhood memories, just for context. Hello. It stopped. Is it tired? Okay, there we go. Just manually move it along. This is by a photographer named Alex Cherry. It's in 2022. Battalion Maneuvers, Kiev District in Ukraine. So we have images as far back as World War I and images as close to us as the Ukraine conflict. And he said, my task was to prepare 3 ambush points with my squad on the possible way of assault. Me and a call sign Sonic are in the ambush awaiting assault. Sonic is on rest while I check the surroundings with a reconnaissance drone. This speaks to just the sort of the solemnness or the, I don't know, what it's like just from a mood perspective. Do you have feelings about this image?
I just always that you see camouflage all the time, but to me it's like camouflage in action.
Yeah, they blend.
They blend right in.
Mhm.
But to me it's a really soulful picture.
Right.
I mean, you look in her eyes and you can kind of see the gravity of the moment, really.
Yeah, just grabbing some rest in a flak jacket and the risk. Incredible. These are the only 2 images in the show that are submitted anonymously. I know who it is, but I have lots of sources who we don't share. But these are from, I don't know tons about it because we didn't really, I managed to engage the person, but these are evacuation from Afghanistan and iPhone images. We wanted them on the wall. I kind of like them together like that. It's sort of interesting, right? But just to me, it speaks to we've heard of the chaos of that evacuation, and here we have a firsthand account of it. I like also that we're looking backwards against people, behind people, and then the military is all sort of in front of us. Don't know what that means, but I love this one too. It's up in the gallery. This is from B.A. Van Size. Boatswain's mate, 2nd class Alan Rondina, captains a response boat in the Thames River in Connecticut as a growing storm makes its way into the area. Van Sice is an author, curator, and photographic artist. He is also an individual ready reserve member of the Coast Guard Reserve and a national staff member of the Coast Guard Auxiliary. Just love that one. Somebody called during the course of this process and said, I have 400 slides. They're post-war Europe. You want to take a look at them? And I said, absolutely do. And there are these, I can't believe how heavy these boxes are, but they ended up on my desk at work. And I went through them all. They were somewhat documented in terms of where they were. There were about a dozen that were not completely blunt. They were not in great shape. They were metal casings, but the slide film was between these plastic sheets. And so this one I love. This is Colonel Alvin Jensen of the U.S. Army Signal Corps. He traveled across occupied Europe and North Africa, 1948 to 49. And these images document post-war reconstruction, military infrastructure, and the geopolitical landscape shaped by World War II. I mean, Holland, 1948, just, I don't know, the street scene of what the girl's wearing and the colors, the scan of the color is incredible. Somebody was in the gallery saying that these slides, and this is another one, that there wasn't color at this time. And sure, of course, I mean, there was, but these these images and the scans really popped. And this is on Libya, in Tripoli, and on the Air Force Base in Libya. And I don't know, the color between the yellow plane, the tan suits, the black smoke, and the red fire engine. It's just a compelling. This one's on the gallery walls and very compelling. Another favorite. This is from again Jesse A. Fields of Marilyn Monroe on a USO tour, air tour, USO tour, 1954. It was submitted by Catherine McCoy. She visited troops stationed in Korea as part of that tour. She was there for 4 days, performing 10 shows at various camps for Army and Marine soldiers, shuttled there by military transports, vehicles, and helicopters. It was taken when Marilyn Monroe landed by helicopter near the camp where Fields was stationed. I love this picture for all kinds of reasons, but the guy in the upper right sort of peering down, and I don't know, her like on, like you're on, like, go, and the guy to the left shooting his, just, you can tell her entourage. I don't know. It's just something about it that is just puts you so present. And wow, again, what a thing to bubble up. Along that vein, and you can see some of this. There he is, Bob Hope himself. In a U.S. show in the demilitarized zone in Korea in 1970 in Korea. And this is the Bob Hope Christmas show with Les Brown and his band of renown. It was in 16 degrees with heavy parkas, but the show went on. Drafted in 1969, James DeVore was assigned to Army headquarters in Headquarter Company 3rd Brigade and 2nd Infantry Division Demilitarized Zone. Sergeant E5 in charge of switchboard Camp let's see. He was a sergeant in charge of the switchboard at Camp Dodge. There's a picture on our digital display of the switchboard, which I didn't make it to the walls, but I really love. And he's, after 43 years in the telephone industry, he's now retired and dedicated to the photographic arts, and I think lives near us. We'll have to get him involved. I think I haven't met him yet. We're winding down here. A few more to go, and then we'll get through this deck, which I'm so thrilled to share with you all. This is by Richard Lounders from Quang Nam in Vietnam in 1966. He was a U.S. Marine who went to Vietnam in 1964, early on in Vietnam parlance. Was just in our gallery walk. Took this while waiting for his cousin to pass by in a secure area. It's a Marine photographer. Quickly became one of our sort of, again, icon photographs of the exhibit. But we did some work to the photograph to be able to see and restore it, and you can see the bottles and the kids. He has a lot of pictures of kids. But talked a lot about sort of his perception of the value of human life, and he's endured by meeting and connecting with veterans since his time in Vietnam. This is one of the photographs I think is in our case, and it's submitted by, I just like it. It's by a woman named Bonnie Kramer in New York. It's called Leaving My Hooch. Colonel Ronald T. Kramer served for over 30 years in the U.S. Army, including 2 tours in Vietnam where he created a substance abuse policy to address heroin addiction among U.S. soldiers. He received numerous medals, including the Defense Superior Service Medal and the Legion of Merit. For those of you who are soldiers of the Vietnam War, appreciate the history of the war. A lot of issues, certainly later, post-TET, 69 and 70, around different camps, folks who were dealing with drug issues, folks dealing with alcohol issues, questions about the U.S. military sort of making that possible, ways, all kinds of issues around morale and news of home. It's just all kinds of issues. So the work that he did, very important. This is up in the gallery. I love it. It's Fort Benning, Georgia, 1959. Harris Kligman, just before making a parachute jump. He was a retired U.S. Army intelligence and infantry officer who served 20 years and retired as a major. I have to go look him up. He was the author of 13 novels, including the acclaimed Vietnam story Requiem for a Soldier. So it's I hadn't had a chance to look that up, but I'm going to. Another personal favorite, I did when this came in, I was like, I didn't notice it at first, but this is from Ranger School, Johnny Barato, Survival Orientation Ranger School in Everglades, Florida, which is down south near the, you would think it's in Everglades National Park. It's very close.
Now we would have a much larger snake.
We would have much larger. There are issues in the Everglades of invasive boas. The pythons, yes, that are 18 feet long and crazy. They have weeks where people go try and corral them. So this is let's see, again, Ranger Camp. Again, this is just, there's a rattlesnake in his hand in the front. That's all we need to know.
Learning to live off the land.
Yeah, just like, what that's this, and we're we're slightly petrified of snakes here in Tampa. We see them all the time. And these are some of my favorites of the whole exhibition. One of the best. We didn't have it on the wall, but maybe next year. Late in the process, we were gifted a collection by Nelson Irving, who was a U.S. Official Army photographer in World War II, won a Bronze Star Medal for work capturing the D-Day assault in 1944. This collection ended up with us because it was in the hands of a law partner who, and eventually he died, and Nelson died, and it's, we're going through we're going to add it to our collection because there's just some beautiful silver prints, including this one. It's funny because he's in all these pictures.
Some of
Yeah, this one too. I think that's him on the right. The ones we chose, he's in. Actually, I realized it later, he's actually in them all. This is, again, just, he must have posed this. He's right in the smack in the middle, on a typewriter. But and there's a couple of proofs of this, of different ones. But it looks like somebody posed this, or they did some angling. But wow, I mean, just capturing stunning silver prints, and just, he's really incredible. And that's him. I mean, again, we're adoring of the images of people with cameras. This is more. This is obviously 60 millimeter film, but he won a Bronze Star. Let's see, what was it? For recognized for his disregard of personal danger, in his technical proficiency, initiative, courage, and foresight, and his ardent desire to secure the best photographs possible as a pictorial record of combat activities. A citation said, as published in a New Jersey newspaper.
He photographed D-Day.
He photographed D-Day. Yeah, and survived. And these are this is a gift to the museum from a recent gift of ours. So it's an incredible collection within the collection. And then I got another one that I just gasped when it came through. Don't know a whole lot about this. Ron Mahoney. His sister thought we might find this interesting again. Didn't know he died early when he came back. Didn't struggled with his time in Vietnam, but this is her brother, and lo and behold, he's part of our exhibition. And that brings us to a little look at the gallery walls. This is our community gallery. We have 2 gallery spaces here in our museum, which is not enormous, but big enough for us. We would have a vision for a bigger museum someday, but Robin, with her brilliant curatorial skills, has made every one of our shows just stunning, and her decisions here are just the same example. So, my wife designed that logo. She's a graphic designer. There you get a look at the cases. This is the other end, and the cases are, have beautiful original photographs, and there's a lot to digest here. At our opening, this is the collage that my wife did. It's 6 feet by 5 feet, where we channeled a lot of the group shots, and not everything was gallery worthy, but there was plenty that we wanted to. And again, did I tell you I like group pictures? So there's a bunch in here as well, and you've seen a few of them already, but we love this.
That's the thing. We didn't do things necessarily chronologically, but we did things in some ways a little bit thematically.
Thematically, yeah.
Right? We were kind of like, well, put the group pictures in the collage, or when you go in the galleries, there is like I call it the baby wall, right?
The baby wall, yeah.
But there's also like an R&R wall, and then there's also like a awards ceremony kind of wall. So they're not chronological, but there is some logic to it.
There's some, but I think that's a beautiful thing. I mean, there's a little bit of it happened organically, and I'm a big fan of that. We're getting to the near. This is just a closer look at the collage, which I'm particularly grateful for my wife's work here. She initially was like, how am I going to do this? But she figured it out.
She did a great job.
She did a great job. It's stunning. And this is a look at our record-breaking opening last Thursday night here in the gallery.
Sold out.
Sold out, and I think the biggest attended thing we've ever had. So we've had a couple of big events, so I don't want to claim fame, although I kind of am. And I'm doing it. I'm doing it right here. You heard it, folks. Norman Shimmer from Sarasota drove up with his wife to point at the photograph of him on a tank, and has been writing me since. And is just a sweet man, and thrilled that he was there for this. So you have a look at that, and finally myself with Michael Angelo Hall, who I don't know, his expression, he was grateful, and it's not somebody I'm going to have a lot of time. We're going to keep in touch. I mean, I'm so glad that this is healing for him, and there's our contact information. I'll stop sharing in a second. How do I do that? How do we stop sharing? I think. There we go. You are screen sharing.
Stop
Top
sharing.
right.
There it is. Okay, voila. All right. There you go.
This has been absolutely amazing. I had seen some of the images online, but I wasn't aware of the breadth of what you folks have done down there. And several things. I'd like to open it up to questions in case in case anyone does have any questions.
Your thoughts.
Um, but the I was struck by how many family members sent in images of their ancestors. And, we tend to look at those with a detached lens almost. But when we think underneath and think a little bit more in depth about it, to me, it was a testament to their pride in their ancestors and the men and women who went before them.
Yeah.
And and now that that's in the museum, that you are making an archive of this, it now becomes an addition to the collective historical record of what our mothers and fathers have gone through in order to bring us to where we are today as a country that I personally am proud of. We have our challenges, but I
Yeah.
am still quite proud to be an American.
Yeah.
And the other thing that I was going to say was that the changing of the advancing of the technological capabilities of the camera, where now we can get even more intimate views of what military life is about. And Robert Capa once said something. The photojournalist said, if your photos aren't good enough, you're not close enough.
Mhm.
And now you can see where the digital and ISOs of 32,000 etc allow the military folks to go into these areas and shoot and do it really close up.
Those are great points. And we welcome any thoughts anybody has. Deb, your comments about the family connection. We don't. I think we anticipated that. Now you may have some thoughts, Robin, about it, but I think that's been the biggest joy is that people are sharing a small portion, just a few pictures, but they've got a lot more, and they know somebody who does, and
Right.
I think the idea if we're simply looking to help people understand what life in service is like, because it's been so hard on those folks, in many, many ways, that's the goal. It's a simple premise, right? And so, but to your point, the picture my dad's wife's my step, my dad's wife's father took, that's historical record that we wouldn't have had yet, and each of these has that quality to it that I think is particularly special.
Right, and that pride in your family. One of our speakers that was here tonight for the gallery talk, Richard Lounders, brought 10 family members, I think, right? He had his kids and his grandkids and his great grandkids.
He had like great kids in the room.
He
Yeah.
came, to the gallery
Yeah,
talk, and
yeah.
it was just a heartwarming, lovely
It was
day.
incredibly
They
cool.
were all, you could tell, they loved him so much and they were so proud of him.
Yeah, it was remarkable too because they were being very good. Like I wasn't sure. That's the first time I've ever done the gallery talk, which was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it. Yeah, I know. You're welcome to come in, buddy. This one. But I wasn't sure. I knew he was bringing like young children. I wasn't sure how whether or not they get bored but they were right in there. And so, the great grandchildren were not so involved, but still,
they had a good mom.
they showed up.
And it's really amazing how photography function as memory.
Yes.
And how we come to terms with the memories, and also how we heal through imagery.
Yeah.
So it's just an amazing effort you folks have done down there, and I hope that I can get down there to see it.
I mean, again, we're gonna do it next year, and I hope this is, by seeing what we've done here. Again, as I said, you're all of it. You're all part of this. Who do you know? I mean, we're gonna take a deep breath. We've got a couple events. We have one Saturday night, which is a veterans open mic, and then we're gonna do a panel on. I'm gonna moderate a discussion on art therapies as well on November 20th. But there's some time. But I would say we're gonna do it again next year. We're gonna figure out when we're gonna put up that submission link and begin to gather more material for as long as it, we think has like.
Well, we have someone who has their hand up. If anyone has any questions or anything they'd like to,
Welcome them. So,
Philip, did you have a
Yeah.
question?
Yeah, so I'm thinking I have like some pictures that I took on a military base in Israel, and as I said, I lived for 3 years on a military base in Kwajalein. So not that I served, as I said, my dad was not military, but we did serve. We were on a military base for 3 years.
I figured that out. I had that, but that circumstance hadn't come up. But because we want to be somewhat true to the guideline. But glad you're inspired. Maybe
Yeah, I'll have to, as I said, I'll have to go try
Yeah.
to find.
I'm not sure how soon. We're all taking a deep breath, so I'm not sure.
Yeah, we're gonna take a deep breath and have a little debrief.
A little debrief.
There you go.
Yeah.
Things are working.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyhow, just an idea. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. So I just wanted to check in and see if anyone else had any questions, any observations?
Yeah, I'm curious, when you started looking at the pictures, both of you, each one of you individually, was there one you remember that sort of seized you, that when you saw it, you stopped?
A lot. I mean, you saw the ones. I mean, many of that we just shared with you fit that bill for me, right? But if there's one, just one, huh? Danny, for you?
I'm just thinking that you had that experience of like, now I know why I'm doing this.
I'll just briefly say that there was a period where we started to have, like, initially it was a little slow because I was checking the queue. And I was like, no, we're gonna have, like, I wasn't thrilled when we were, you remember this, she's laughing at me. Because I was feeling, I had high expectations, but we also did a lot. I did a lot to get the word out as well. And there was a point where we were starting to get, I was sitting on an airplane with my wife and I was seeing some stuff come in and I was like, wow, look at this. It was the guy with the end with an icon. So I put it at the end. That was one of those that did that for me, Marv. I think the Ken Scar pictures of the folks huddled together in Afghanistan with the wood stove and the hot chocolate. The ones of the UN peacekeeper too that are just stunning visually. Those are a few. I don't know. What did them do it for you?
Well, I had such a different experience because
Yeah.
I wasn't watching like as each one came in at all. So the first time I saw images, there were already
There's a lot.
a group
Yeah.
of images, and I had quite honestly very low expectations. I thought it would be, just like a bunch of bad snapshots or whatever. And I was like, well, they'll always be interesting. I mean, there's no, and I was just struck. I just kept going like one after another of how amazing the images were.
Yeah.
And I don't know that there was one specifically, but I just was so pleased. I think I even like reached out to you right then.
Yeah.
And I was just like, oh my goodness.
Yeah, we're a lot like,
And you were
holy
like,
crap.
you were like, yeah.
Yeah, duh.
Duh.
Yeah. No, that's the special thing. We don't have a lot of those. I mean, in life, there's kinds of revelations of coming upon something that really resonates for people, and enough so that they felt comfortable and excited about participating. And again, it wasn't a contest. It's about understanding and building this archive. And so, but then to your point, we have both had different sort of experiences because I was right on it. And but one day where I had like 4 images that came through, and it's like, oh my! I was oh my gosh! Look! This is very exciting.
Anyone else want to say anything or have any observations?
Barbara,
Barbara's got her hand up.
Oh, go ahead, Barbara.
but you got to unmute.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Barbara, you need to.
I mean, others have said this before, Alexis, but I was just I was surprised about the content and the invitation, and I thought it's a good thing to do on Veterans Day, but couldn't say I was really excited about it because I'm just so anti-military kind of person. And I'm just gobsmacked because to see the depth and breadth of it, and a lot of my family served in the military, so, but then I wondered, what photos do I have of them? You know,
Sure.
nieces were, or my cousins were in Afghanistan. They were in, I mean, and I just want to go kind of search it out. And my dad, who never talked of his experience, we have so little of him, but I just love the images. And I'm really grateful to be sitting here with you all tonight. And I want to know how to access the whole, to go back and look at the whole thing. You said it was on the website, is that correct?
Our initial is fmopa.org. And
Okay.
it's the exhibitions, and then there'll be
Online galleries.
a link, yeah, that goes to online galleries.
Yeah, search around. It's the online galleries. It's the interface is collector systems, which again we're learning a lot in the process. It's not the most user friendly, but it's getting better. And it under Maker, if you find one name, you can search other names. It's a little clunky for me.
Well, I mean, it was one of those we had to scramble and figure out how to do this
Right.
because I mean, when we put the call out, we never dreamed that we were going to get 500 and some images, right? And so we weren't set up to
Right.
put that many images, and we have a very small crew and staff, and that's like an enormous amount of work. So we were scrambling to try and figure out like how that's a lot of images and a lot of bandwidth. And so we ended up having to like use our collector systems. They had like an exhibition module and upload them all there. So it is clunky. And we have a whole year
To figure it
about
out.
how to do
That's
better.
part of our debrief.
How to do better
Yeah,
next year.
yeah.
Lots of things are clunky, and I'm happy to plunk my way through it, but I'd love to go back and look at them.
Betty's got her hand up and I want to respond, but Barbara, thank you for your comment because just briefly, I'll say this. I grew up, I told you, I grew up in Newton. My mom had me when she was 18. She was very involved in the women's movement in the Boston area. I marched for McGovern in 1960, 69 or 70, whenever the campaign was. So I come from a sort of politically, you get the politics, right? But I also did this radio project on Vietnam radio and learned that the Vietnam veterans especially struggled coming back. And
Yeah.
there's a lot of mixed feelings about all of that. But I'm as progressive thinking, pretty fairly progressive thinking, certainly in my politics. But I struggle with that too. To your earlier point, I was worried that even in our community and our board, that there may be some people who think this is going to be a certain way. One of the husband of our operations manager, who's from Holland, was very suspect about the coming in and being at warmongering, but then got here and was emotionally struck by it and got it. So anyway.
Well, and that's the thing too, is like, I mean, I understand that too, but and one of the things I think it does is you see the human side of it,
Yes,
right?
right.
You see the actual stories and you start to understand that it really is a sacrifice.
It is a sacrifice.
And
It is a tremendous sacrifice. My son is in the military, and we were surprised as all heck that the kid went into the military because we had no military on either. Well, my father, but the he was mentioning to us just recently about the I guess it was some bombing, and I can't remember what it is, what it was, but they had to fly 15 hours from their base in the Midwest over to wherever they were bombing, and then they had to fly back, and there was no, and it was for a very good reason. Unfortunately, I can't remember what it was because we've bombed so much. But it was last summer, I think. But he said that they were not allowed at, this was not his mission. It was, he knew people on the mission. He said they were not allowed out of their planes
for 30 some odd hours. And we don't, we don't realize what a sacrifice that is, both physically, mentally, what the families go through. And so, I also had mixed feelings, Barbara, about, the whole military thing. But after working with the veterans for the past 4 years and realizing what they've gone through, and seeing the real human side of this, it's extremely eye-opening, and it has nothing to do with political viewpoint.
No, agreed, agreed.
I hear
Yeah.
that. I just want to add too that it made me just think so deeply about how crappily we are treating our vets right now as they come back. In terms of there were so many images that I thought, I mean, these guys, I mean, hanging on that edge of a plane or being ready to parachute, doing those kinds of things that they're putting their life on the line all the time.
Yeah,
We
agreed.
are a little
Yeah.
acknowledge them.
That whole thing of families, and the woman photographer that was here tonight talked about, like, her husband was, they had kids and he was deployed like 4 times. And every time you say goodbye, you don't know if he's coming back.
Yeah, it's true.
That not just the people who go, but the families who have to stay behind, and the trauma that is.
Yeah. Betty's been patiently waiting, but Barbara, by the way, just please stick around and send us some. Yeah, we want.
I'm going to take my turn. I want to thank you all for coming. I have to say that, as others have said, I had, in my mind, I had the group pictures and the sort of stereotypical pictures of the military in my left side of my brain as I was coming into this, and thought, oh, this is a perfect match because it's Veterans Day. And what I was most struck by with these images that you've shown us is the intimacy of them, which comes from the stories, comes from getting up close. It comes from, and I knew nobody would invite someone to come to BCA and do an hour-and-a-half or 2-hour presentation on, the warrior spirit, formal portraits of all, whatever, you know what I'm talking about. And I thought they were just beautiful, the images, because of their intimacy and because of the stories that came out of them. And even the ones that were sort of kind of perhaps posed a tiny bit, and the ones that were completely candid, like, it made me laugh. The one in Afghanistan of the soldiers, everybody piled up for rest, because that's the way Afghan families sleep at night, is they have their 3 mats on the floor, and then all 8 or 10 members of the family are just piled on each other, and they sleep that way. I mean, so it fit perfectly with the country and the culture. But
that I didn't know. Wow.
I mean, that's the Afghans set them up in that room, right? So for them, the size of it was probably what was available, but also it wouldn't have been a problem because they would all snuggle and cuddle and just all be together.
Yeah, I gotta tell you, it's just a joy to hear your feedback and get some, have you, hear from what's striking you. And we're learning things about this project from tonight that I don't think we anticipated. So it's really a joy.
I wish I were in Florida, partly because it's suddenly gotten cold here. But I'd like to, as Barbara mentioned, I would like to see everything. How long is the exhibit up for?
January 25th.
Oh, no, I don't think I'll make it. I will go to the website though and have a look better.
It'll be the same time frame. And again, you can get a taste online and explore it, and help us with the process of what we're going to work through in the coming months about how can we continue to improve on this.
But thank you. It's an exquisite project, and I will share it with my nephew,
Awesome.
who I can't remember. Let's see. He did his 9 years. He's been out probably for, I don't know, maybe 15 or 18 years ago. When my brother announced that he was going to be a cadet at West Point, I thought, what? Same thing, like, huh? What? And very interesting. Very, very fascinating, but I think he might enjoy having a look at them.
Yeah, by all means. I mean, again, we love you all as members of the Florida Museum of Photographic Arts, said the chairman, volunteer chairman. Of course, that's, but you all are connected to us now. I think there are probably some things we can begin to build on with your group for future as well. But
And I'm happy to, next year when you start your call for entry, I can certainly dispense it to the group. We have one more comment or question from Tom Halpert.
Yep.
Just a brief comment here. I think we've been seeing family pictures tonight. The pictures that families have kept of the record. We haven't seen the photojournalism of war. We've been sort of on the periphery of that. Not that that's any criticism of what we've seen. It's just to put it into context. While you were talking and I was doing something at my stove and I heard, and he was shot here, and I was thinking, oh, a violent act? No, it was photographic. But many people coming back from these wars have never told what happened to them.
Right.
It's just too brutal.
Yep.
And
the guy, Ronnie Mahoney, his sister who brought the photographs said he didn't talk about it. She didn't. We kept asking her for some information, and she said she didn't know.
Doesn't talk about it. But it is good of you that because the call was specifically you had to be either active, a veteran, or a family of a veteran, and that's that was the criteria, and we kept to that.
We did.
So even though some of the military people were like photographers for the service, as you said, there were none of it was just journalism, right?
Yeah,
it was all submitted by the actual people.
Right. Yeah, so that's part of the criteria, Tom. So.
Well,
sort of a follow-up to what I was asking before about what struck you, because I had one picture that really struck me.
Yeah,
I think struck a balance, and it was an incredibly well executed photograph for a photo group, and that was I guess was a cargo airplane that was being loaded at sunset because it was a compelling picture, and as a photo group, first view of it was, wow, that's a great picture. And I was looking at it, and then what really struck me was this line of people going to literally the belly of the beast, heading off to where
wild,
that's amazing photo.
That was the transitional one for me that went from the intimacy to the reality of what they were dealing with.
Yeah, what a great observation.
Right. And then you think about it, there was the photo submitted anonymously of them all in the belly of the airplane leaving Afghanistan. And in my mind, you go put the two juxtapositions against each other. It's like that whole experience.
There's a lot of transference just of sort of imagining what it would like to be in those moments. In ways that I didn't anticipate either, Marvin. But that one speaks to me as well. I think Tony, you were going to make a point. I think.
I just wanted to say thank you for doing this. You've brought the human side of service members in these images.
Awesome.
I'm one of several family members in our family that have served a number of years, and to finally see presentations that show the human side and away from the politics, I think you've done a great job, and I'm very thankful for you.
We're thrilled to hear that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, thank you so much.
Deborah, I've got one more technical question, Barbara A. just curiously, can you speak a little bit about how the collage was done by your wife? Because
Sure.
trying to come up with a way to do a collage family stuff, and I might not go that big, but I want to do something big.
I had broad ambitions for her, and I'm glad you asked because you'll appreciate it. You know, as a trained graphic designer, I was like, oh, she can do it, and we have a difference of opinion on this. She says I did, I had volunteered her. I thought she volunteered, but she's probably right that she didn't. And she was coming down a deadline, and had a lot on her plate, and we went to. She didn't have a template for it because it's not the easiest thing to design, and not only did she needed to work with some of the images so that they would print well, and that some of them there's an opportunity to I think restore some of them and get some detail and shadows in certain places. And so that was one piece of it. But then actually having a template for that grid,
Yeah.
which we consulted with ChatGPT for some sort of template. And
There was no help.
there was no help. Forgive my French, but ChatGPT sucked at that and did a very poor job. And then we used a couple of other AI just to get some sort of template. And finally, that helped to give her at least some way to figure out what's dominant. How do you put it together? And miraculously,
She did an amazing job.
Nobody else could have done it.
And you know, that being the curator, being, you know, on this one of the curators, but we were talking about it, I was like, oh yeah, we're gonna have this like great big and not even thinking about like how we're gonna do it.
Yeah.
Or, you know, like
Yeah.
who's gonna do it.
There was a lot.
And Joni like totally
It's spectacular.
stepped up and did it.
There is no template to do it. I mean, you got to kind of do
No.
it.
No.
Well, maybe Alexis,
Yeah.
maybe we could put Barb in touch with your wife.
Yeah. Are you trying to do a collage? Is that the deal?
I mean, I've been thinking about it, yeah, and I mean, not more like a 2x3, but you know, to really make sense of it is.
Yeah, I mean, Perplexity actually figured out a template that was useful, but I'm sure she would be happy to help. You know, and that's one of the things we want to leave with you guys is that, you know, we're easy to contact, we're easy to connect with, we're easy to reach. You know, we're trying to sort of keep this museum alive, but it's projects like this that help us feel very hopeful about the future.
Yes.
But it's also getting out of we're not just while we are the Florida Museum of Photographic Arts in Tampa, we like that it's Florida. We also like that a project like this has put us on a wider map. We like that we now have our friends with BCA, and that you've been part of the experience, and so and we'll now be thinking about contributing or connecting with us. So I would just encourage you to not hesitate.
Great, thanks so much.
Barb, what I'll do is when we end in a couple minutes, I'll send you, if that's okay with you, Alexis, send your email.
Yep.
Barb.
Okay.
Sure thing.
Thanks.
If I'm slow, I generally will respond pretty quickly, but I'm a working journalist, so I have a lot coming at me, but I will respond, and we'll be happy to hear from you.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Well, if we don't have any more questions, I cannot see anybody with their hands up. You may be able to see it, Alexis, but I can't.
I don't. Everybody's been who's I think wanted to chime in, but the feedback has been wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you, all of you.
Thank you.
Thank
you for doing this. Thank you for putting the work in, and thank you so much for speaking before the group. So I am absolutely appreciative of everything that you've done. So, and I'm sure we'll be in touch.
Yes, we will.
Terrific.
Thanks
Thank you so much.
Bye, everyone.
Everybody.
Good night, Oh, by the way, everyone, we do send out those surveys, so if you could fill that out afterwards, that would be great. Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Good night, everyone.
Night.